Stafford going to the end zone, reaching up and making the grab. Odell Beckham Jr. Stafford buys time, protection is good, and so is the pass. Henderson came out of the backfield. Jefferson in motion. Henderson, nice cutback. Stafford rolling and throwing, caught, Kupp, touchdown. Stafford caught on the run. Kupp, who else? Comes out of the slot to the right, looks that way, fires that way. Kupp makes the grab at about the 18-yard line. Pass, Kupp, got it, touchdown. Burrow trying to keep it going, gets spun down, gets it away, and incomplete. It looked like P-Ron might have had a shot to make the grab, but the Rams now running down to celebrate with a defensive play.
And guess who? Guess who? I mean, you don't even have to think about it. Do not even have to think about it.
Pointing to the ring finger.
Welcome, everyone, to a special East Coast Rams podcast, and we are Super Bowl champions. The Rams get their second Super Bowl pair of rings in the last 2 decades. What a game, Zach. Just how are you feeling after that roller coaster?
You know, I still feel like I'm shaking a little bit from it, but man, what a statement the Rams made at the very end. I mean, this was a grueling battle from the first possession of the game to the end, and I'm just so happy for this team. There's so many players on this who truly deserve, who've been through so much throughout their time period in the NFL, and I'm just so excited for this team.
Mm-hmm. And what a mentally tough team, Zach. Let's just put it out there. A lot of other teams, if you give the opponent a free 7 points with a missed face mask on Jalen Ramsey, if you give a free 7 points to the other team and then your QB gets a tipped interception right after that, through all of that, and then you lose your second wide receiver, a lot of teams would just collapse, especially under the bright lights of the Super Bowl. They could have had a lot of reasons why they lost this game. I felt like the refs ended up giving us back one in the red zone, but you never know if you get that opportunity in the first place. So that it just really bugged me that you don't have reviews on touchdowns for OPI, and that was very clearly caused because he just threw Jalen Ramsey down by a face mask. That was irritating, but the fact that this team, with 4 minutes left, down 5, I believe 5, with missing an extra point, with so many things going wrong, having to go down and score a touchdown to go ahead and try to win the game. Just all credit to Stafford and Kupp. What a connection.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that last drive really pushed the momentum. I mean, we were going into the fourth quarter with Kupp only having 52 or 54 yards. Yes, he got that. He got our second touchdown, which was great. But really, the Bengals did a really good job of keeping Kupp under, keeping him under kind of lock and key. But I think at the very end, McVay was like, I don't care. Like, this is it. This is what we were here for. You have to throw it to Kupp. He is the guy. You two are the two that are going to score us points. And so they just did it. I mean, you just saw it play after play, the 4-and-1, to Kupp to get that first down, and then just keep driving the ball all the way down. And man, when they were in the red zone, Kupp got hit like 2 or 3 times, and I was wondering if he was actually going to get up after a couple of those. He had some big blows, but man, what a resilient team, what a resilient offense who never really, they had some big plays, and obviously we had the OBJ, touchdown and we had the Cooper Kupp touchdown, but it kind of seemed like we were struggling a little bit in the offense. I know we had some injuries with OBJ and things like that towards the end, but we could never establish that run.
Well, I mean, we're coming into this game missing 2 of our top 3 wide receivers. You're going to struggle when you do that, especially if your third and fourth and fifth options are just not performing. Van Jefferson had a relatively disappointing game. Don't get me started on Ben Skoranek. I like his positioning. Ben Skoranek does run good routes. I see the potential there, but the man cannot catch a damn ball to save his life, Zach.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, you got to be able to perform when in next man up mentality. I'll give credit to Bryson Hopkins. He got thrown to, and he caught the ball when he got thrown to. That's all we needed is when you're open, when Kupp is getting double teamed the entire game, when OBJ goes out, like you need some other people to make catches when they're wide open. And Bryson Hopkins, never thought I would be giving him credit for a Super Bowl win, but he deserves some credit for being clutch in some of those plays. Cooper Kupp, of course, in that final drive was fantastic. Credit to Stafford. I really thought he played a really, really good, clean game outside of the first interception.
Yeah, and I mean that one you could kind of put on Jefferson for not being aware of what was happening. I mean everyone. I mean Stafford pointed out that that's what he was doing in that throw.
I think he underthrew it. I put that more on Stafford than I do Van Jefferson.
Fair.
Van Jefferson, if you rewatch, he clearly has a step past the safety, and it was thrown too late and too short. But again, besides that, Stafford was really on the point.
Mm-hmm. No, he was. I mean, especially during that last drive, he was just shooting lasers. I mean, Kupp was like where like 3 Bengals were like in the way, and he still was able to fire it right in the middle. So just a great offensive run, especially at the end. I mean, Darrell Henderson, man, I did not expect him to play as much as he did. I think we saw hardly anything of Sony Michel, but especially when you're down Higbee, and then obviously you lose OBJ, Henderson's your next comfort zone as far as, catch and runs. And he had 3 really good catch and runs, his longest of 25 yards. I mean, just unbelievable of what Henderson did for this team tonight too.
Yeah, credit to Henderson. He really performed. I love him catching out in the backfield. We couldn't stand when Sony Michel was doing, because Sony Michel just doesn't have that burst, and he doesn't have that break tackle. Like, I feel like he's a decent ground and pound back, but in this game, they're getting so much penetration through the middle of our line that you just couldn't really run it down the middle. Sony Michel was basically rendered useless. Cam Akers, he's still injured. He doesn't have that pop. I feel like a fully healthy Akers in this game gets like 2 to 3 more yards every play. He just falls forward more. Like, you could see he's not fully there. Mm-hmm. And then Henderson was really useful in the passing game, and he had to be. The fight by this team in the fourth quarter, we have been a second half team the entire season. To be honest, the Bengals got out of the first half relatively in better shape than they should have been. Mm-hmm. I don't think it should have been a blowout by the end of the first half, but just the fact that they were only losing by 3, it was just a pain. And then coming out and having that touchdown, Zach, do you want to talk about that touchdown?
Which one?
It wasn't Jamar Chase, it was Higgins.
Oh, Higgins, where Mixon, yeah. So, it was kind of a real tricky play where the Rams were expecting a run. They tossed it to the running back Mixon. He kind of goes out wide to try to cause space, which then forces the Rams D to come forward, leaving Higgins open in the back, and then Mixon just pops it right over the top, and Higgins scores that touchdown. And That was a great trick play by the Bengals. A really good job of, especially when they kind of seem to have a hard time finding that red zone scoring. They really struggled in that especially over the last several games. They kicked a lot more field goals in those early games, and so they needed to trick something up because they weren't going to win this game with field goals. Ooh, excuse me. They were going to have to win with touchdowns, and taking the pressure off of Burrow, kind of doing this misdirection, really put them into a positive spin and got them to get those points.
Yeah, I definitely agree. It was a great play design, great play call. Credit to Zach Taylor. I felt like
I don't know
their
why
play.
I don't know why Weddle didn't come towards that side of the field too, but that's one thing.
Well, I mean, it was more Nick Scott just misreading it for a second. I'll give Nick Scott credit. He did. It seemed like he realized it just a half a second too late.
Mm-hmm.
Like if he goes just like maybe a yard less in, I think he actually has a chance to. I don't necessarily think he picks it. He probably just like tips it away.
Right.
He was very close to making a good play, but credit to the Bengals. Great play call, great score. Do you want to talk about that TD from his second TD by Higgins, the one where he pulls Ramsey down?
Oh yeah, so really the two big touchdowns for the Bengals, I mean, really came in inopportune times. I mean, that one was. I mean, it would have been nice if it wasn't a big face mask on Higgins. That was just. I mean, that was
It
very
was so
obvious.
blatant.
And I liked what the refs did. The refs really didn't call a lot of fouls. I mean, obviously, if there was been an offsides or something like that, they were going to call those. But they really let the game play. But when you have a clear face mask like that, that's pretty obvious call. And you know,
Well, I mean, if you see Ramsey just get thrown down uncharacteristically, right? If that's
mhm,
Eli Apple, I guess I could see not throwing a flag if you don't have clear view. But it's Jalen Ramsey. He just gets thrown down like that. Throw the flag, and guess what? If you review it and there's nothing there, you can pick it up. But you
right,
don't get that option afterwards.
yeah, for
Because in the NFL, that isn't in touchdown reviews. They can't just throw a flag
mhm,
post play.
yeah.
Uh, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that, and it's kind of crazy. You come to this game, and after this game, if this game was the Rams lost 20-16, the Rams fans were going to be all, this is unfair, this is unfair. Ramsey got face mask, and then on the opposite end, you get the Bengals fans. I've already heard from a couple of them already tonight because we're doing this immediately after the game, that there was a whole bunch of the whole holds on Cooper Cup, pass interference calls at the red zone. They thought that was ticky tacky when the refs weren't playing ticky tacky all night. So you're
Oh,
gonna have those people, and we're gonna have to deal with that for the time period until they can lick their wounds and realize their team, for all intents and purposes, looks like it will be back. I have no doubt in my mind that they are going to make another big push in the next couple of years, and um, but that's kind of my thoughts on that.
well, I mean, my reaction to that is basically number one, none of those plays resulted in a touchdown directly because of the penalty.
For sure.
That's a big difference. And number two, uh, I guarantee you, if they didn't have that missed penalty, they don't call those ticky tacky plays in the red zone. Because some refs will do this, where if they know they got something wrong later in the game, most of the time they will give you it back. Is that fair to the Bengals players? No, but it wasn't fair to the Rams that they got a free touchdown
Right.
because that's I think what 85-yard difference.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
Uh,
yeah. I don't disagree at all. That's just coming from knowing the game, and it was the same thing back in the Saints game when the Rams were in the Super Bowl last. That was a bad call, or that was a bad no call, and it is what it is. These things are going to happen, and we're just going to have to move on. The team's won. There's really nothing you can boohoo all you want about it, but the game's over. They're not going to go back and replay the game or anything like that. So Rams won. It's where it's at, and just grateful for again. And this team went through. They knew that was a face mask. Ramsey knew it was a face mask, and they that didn't slow him down. The two interceptions, technically interceptions from Matthew Stafford didn't stop Matthew Stafford. The defense still put so much pressure. I mean, if you just look at it, I mean, the Rams got to Burrow, hit him or sacked him 7 times for a loss of 43 yards. That's awesome. I mean, for someone who was clean against all of Kansas City, yeah, he got sacked 9 times. I was expecting 4. I wasn't really expecting 7.
I was expecting round 5. I knew we were going to get home, but the Bengals really had a great game plan in the first, second quarter, running it, doing like what we said, quick passes, a lot of slants, some screens, a really great game plan against this pass rush. But eventually they got in passing downs, and that's where the Rams want to get you. They want to get you when you're down having the pass, and Aaron Donald and Von Miller can just go to town. And Aaron Donald made the play. If he retires, I mean, he won us a Super Bowl. Uh, I hope he doesn't, but I can't say he hasn't done a lot for this team. He's been a top 3 player in the entire league since he's been in. He's been that good for that long, and if he retires, I will cry a lot of man tears that day, Zach.
Yeah, I mean, I think the rest of the NFL will, be in joyous celebration of it. But I'm hoping he still has another couple years left in him. Defensive linemen, they're not there forever, and he's really gotten everything that he's wanted done. But I really hope that he kind of sticks around to help the next group that's going to come in and take over. So I'm still hoping. I think he still technically has 2 years left on his contract. Hoping that maybe they can at least keep him around for another year or so, just to kind of make sure that defense is good to go going forward.
Mm-hmm. Talking about other players that were big in this game, Zach, what did you think of Ernest Jones? Because I think he was flying around, and he was, outside of Aaron Donald, probably our best player this match on defense.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I mean, you look at it, and Ernest Jones had 7 tackles of his own and a sack and 2 tackles for loss, and that's just a player that we've been missing over the last couple of weeks. Since his injury, and really just he brings so much to that role, and he's definitely a key. I mean, he was the second best tackler of the night. Surprisingly, Darius Williams had more tackles than anybody on the team, which is fantastic. So, but no, I think Ernest Jones, he definitely had a comeback night tonight. Taylor Rapp was really quiet, but he still made quite a few tackles as well. Doing a really good job.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, looking at it, the Rams had 18 first downs to the Bengals 15. Total plays, Rams had more at 66 to 61. Total yards, 313 to 305. Total drives, same 13 drives. Yards per play, Rams had less at 4.7. Bengals had 5.0. Again, kind of getting inflated by a 75-yard touchdown that shouldn't have counted. Passing, 270 to 226. I thought the Bengals were very good play calling wise and mixing it in probably till the fourth quarter.
Yeah, no, I agree. The Rams just changed. Like, are you talking about their defense or their offense? When you
Their offense, their defense, I felt like it was very conservative, and then whenever we lost OBJ, you could tell they started getting more aggressive.
they were for sure more aggressive, and they have the ability to keep Cup underline. I mean, we saw that. We saw um, Van Jefferson, Skoranek, they were dropping balls. I mean, let's be real. I mean, um, let's see. Skoranek was targeted 5 times, only caught 2 of them.
Hmm.
Van Jefferson was targeted 8 times. He only caught 4 of them. One of them was that TD, which that interception, which I'm not going to count. But he did have a couple that he dropped, and so when you don't when all you have is Cup as your secure, I mean, really your security blanket. I mean, you did have Henderson who did catch his 3 receptions, but um,
I mean, credit to Van Jefferson. He did have a wide open route in the red zone, and he just got missed by
yeah,
Stafford. He just
no, right.
he threw it too high, and he should have just lobbed it right where he was aiming.
Oh yeah. So it's just the offense just kept seeing, like, especially in the third and even the first part of the fourth quarter, that we were just getting nowhere. We were getting 3 and outs, or maybe we would get the first down, but then we would be right back to punting the ball away. But they never stopped, and they never waned, and there was the scare when Stafford went down, and you kind of saw his ankle kind of roll and had to go to the medical seat and get his leg taped. It just seemed like everyone was kind of getting beat up
Hurt.
in this
Yeah.
game.
Yeah, let's go and talk about that money drive. Starting off, I believe at their 19, having to go 70, or no, 21, starting off at their 21, having to go 79 yards. And Zach, this drive was so impressive because it was very methodical, and it had to be. You start off with a pass to Bryson Hopkins, and then you have Stafford try to throw to Benny Skoranek. Uh, I feel like Skoranek will end up being a really good player, and I know a lot of people will like scoff at that. He just has to work on his catching. I think that's his biggest issue. And then it, after that incomplete pass, we try to hand it off to Cam Akers. He gets nowhere. And this is the biggest, I would argue, the biggest play of the game, Zach, the 4th and 1.
I mean,
And
this was make or break. I mean, if we
yeah.
would not have made this, the game would have been over.
Well, I mean, the Rams had to get a stop because we had all 4 of our timeouts. So the Rams, in that case, have to get a stop and force a field goal, and then we would be talking about overtime if the Rams happen to score again,
Mhm.
which would be unlikely. So the cojones that McVay had to have to give it to the player constantly getting double teamed, just credit McVay. That could have blown up, especially with how they were constantly in the backfield all night.
Mhm.
Really good penetration by that D line, and Cooper Cup gets the first down. Um,
Yeah, and
cre-
and it was actually Hopkins actually did a good blocking on that as well, which actually
yeah,
helped get him, through that first down. So very impressive. I mean, again, it would have been, worst if we would have missed it. It could have been the end of the game, but if not, it would have been very close. And I'm glad they made it. It was a good call. And yeah, like you said, next play, we're hitting it, we're just moving the ball up forward.
yeah. He has an incomplete pass to Cam Akers. He throws to guess who, Cooper Cup, for 8 yards. It's 3rd and 2. Uh, he throws it to guess who, Bryson Hopkins, for 6 yards and the first down. Again, Bryson Hopkins having an impressive big game. He has been invisible for like the last 2 years. So I'm happy to see that he's producing in big moments. Stafford passes to Cam Akers and actually connects for 3 yards. And then another great, awesome catch by Cooper Cup for 22 yards. And this is after this 22-yard catch, Zach, I kind of felt a momentum shift
Hmm.
that's when you feel like, wow, like we really will have a shot to score a TD on this drive.
Oh yeah, for sure. And um, yeah, it was just great. And the connection that Stafford and Cup have is just it's unbelievable. I mean, it's almost like two magnets finding each other at the point. He throws the ball and it immediately goes straight to Cooper Cup. Doesn't
Mm.
matter if he's double coveraged. I think the 22-yard one was where he threw it into kind of a hotspot of three Bengals players. So it was just laser focused by Stafford to throw to Cup into those tight spots.
Yeah, he was throwing it knowing the zone coverage and just knowing Cup's route and trusting him.
Hmm.
And Cup was there. He throws for another 8-yard completion to Cooper Cup, and then a big, really big run when we needed it, Zach. A 8-yard rush by Cam Akers up to the 8-yard
Oh
line.
yeah,
Like, this is important too because it makes the Bengals defenders realize, like, you have to also prepare for a run because they just were able to get a decent chunk on that
and
run.
and
Big
finally
moment
we
to get it.
saw yeah we finally saw the offensive line like push forward. I feel like that was something that we were missing all night. Like it just felt like he had the momentum of the offensive line kind of like helping him push himself like to keep that momentum alive.
hmm Then he misses Van Jefferson. It would have been a hard throw. Van Jefferson was wide open. Second on second down, they throw to Henderson. I believe that was just more of him throwing it out than anything else.
Hmm.
And then you have the Cooper Cup touchdown that gets called back because of a uh, penalty. It was double
It was a
penalty.
Yeah, it was the double penalty, holding on the defense, and then a personal foul on Cup on. Yeah.
Yeah, did they say who the Rams player was? I know it was a lineman for
Um,
holding.
I am not sure who that was.
Yeah. Um. So they end up offsetting. They replay first down. Um. Uh.
Might have been.
y-
No, it wasn't Havenstein. Havenstein was the next penalty. Oh yeah, it
So
was Havenstein
it
for
was
offensive
Havenstein.
holding.
Okay. Yeah. And then Stafford throws immediately back to Cooper Cup, and he gets held. So that's another penalty. Then Stafford does a QB sneak, and that doesn't go anywhere. Cincinnati calls a timeout, and then on second and goal, uh, it just like he kept on like me playing in Madden, just kept on spamming it the Cooper Cup, and he finally got that touchdown. He got that Moss, and the Rams go up 23-20, and then the Bengals end up getting it back, and Aaron Donald closes it out, causing Joe Burrow to throw an incomplete pass, and the Rams win the Super Bowl.
Man, it's so good to hear that the Rams win the Super Bowl, so I can go into work tomorrow with my head held high and don't have to wear the solidarity like black tie or black outfit to what people would think would be like my funeral or something the next day.
Yeah, I would have wore all the same stuff, but I would be way more sad. It was a wild game, and I feel like in retrospect, it's kind of like a microcosm of our season.
Mhm.
Starting off good, hitting a really bad, rough patch there in the middle of the game, and then just finding a way to crawl back, finding a way to win however it counts. And this is a special team. It took something special to go in the SoFi against Cardinals and blow out the team that everyone's coronated as the Super Bowl favorites for like 9 or 10 weeks in the start of the season. than to go to Tampa Bay and beat the greatest to ever play the game, Tom Brady, in a round of the playoffs that he's only lost in, I believe, once. Beating Tom Brady, not giving up the comeback there, and then going against a team that's beat you 6 times and doing the comeback there. I mean, it's a special team.
It's a special team. Yeah, it's a team that just works hard, has a good atmosphere, brings in players who are considered toxic on other teams and thrive and succeed on this team. And the
Great
atmosphere is
culture.
different. It's the culture's there. Everything seems to be there. I'm looking forward to this team moving forward. I'm hopeful that we can keep Stafford on for a few more years. It looks like OBJ is willing to strike a deal to stay on this team. And man, if we had OBJ, Robert Woods, and Cooper Kupp on the same team, all healthy, I could just see this offense, thriving even more than they are right now.
Hmm. And Zach, I guess being able to look at our Super Bowl champion gear and looking at that Lombardi trophy during day one of the NFL draft will just make waiting and sitting there a little bit more sweet.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure.
Yeah,
Their words are just hard to describe how I'm feeling right now because it's just we had this moment a couple years ago and we felt like we were so close, we were ready for it, and we missed out. But um, man,
we definitely didn't score 3 points to Super Bowl.
I know. Yeah, we definitely hit that early on, with our OBJ touchdown. So
Well, I mean, let's also give credit to a lot of these players and a lot of the coaching staff that have been constantly ridiculed and attacked. Morris, great game plan. The defense was playing lights out most of this game, with a few exceptions. Um, Really, they only got burnt one time, and that was what Jamar Chase. Like, Jamar Chase will do that to you. Like, he's going to be doing that to a lot of teams for the future to come. Like, you're gonna lose that. You're gonna give Higgins some catches, but credit to the secondary, credit to Morris, uh, Sean McVay. A lot of people said that he was boy wonder, but he couldn't close the deal. He closed the deal. Um, he's constantly lost coaches. A lot of outlets don't ever talk about that. That the Rams probably have the highest amount of turnover in their coaching staff in the last 3 years, and Sean McVay constantly keeps on producing. Credit to him and his hiring decisions. We're already going to lose our offensive coordinator. I hope Morris can stay and get another year in. I think he did a really good job. It wasn't like last year, but it doesn't need to be. Like, that's going to be really hard to produce again. And he did a good job. We won a lot of our games in the last 10 games because of our defense being able to bow up in pivotal moments.
yeah, I mean my final thoughts on this is like this team was built to win. It wasn't and the Bengals. It wasn't like the Bengals weren't. I mean, you saw all the stats throughout this. I mean, I was literally watching all day of pregame and what the Bengals have gone through and all the people that they brought on, and we saw that in their defense. Their defense played really well. But this Rams team, I mean, they went through their ups and downs like no one else. I feel like this season, gaining players, losing players, players having to step up and make big decisions. Even throughout this postseason, losing your safeties and having to bring someone out of a 2-year retirement to take you through and help you win the Super Bowl. It's an unbelievable story. It's a story that's it's going to be written, it's going to be told for a very, very, very long time. And, I'm just so impressed with this team and everything that they've accomplished.
Hmm. Yeah, and Zach, I'm pretty sure Stafford is pretty clutch, and he now has a positive winning record in the postseason, so we can just stop hearing that tired narrative about how he was bad because he couldn't win playoff games.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And yeah, he's, again, and, I'm the first one to admit, like when I first heard this deal, I was hesitant. I was hesitant on where he's come from. I knew he was a great quarterback, but can he learn this? And he just exceeded all expectations. And, he went farther than I ever thought he could in year one. Um, you know, did I think that we were going to make a run in the playoffs? Sure. Super Bowl champs, that's hard to do when you bring in a new quarterback who's played 12 years in a different environment with a different team with different rules and different offenses coming in and out. And I'm just so pleased that he chose the Rams. I mean, he had the option not to choose us. He could have been, I don't know. I have these other teams that are looking for me too. I'm going to kind of see what else is out there, but
Colts, Broncos.
yeah, I mean, he really did. He had his choice, and choosing the Rams, choosing that culture, choosing Sean McVay and Whitworth. We've heard that whole story tons of times now, and it's just great. It's great that they found someone. It's a culture that I'm proud to be a fan in. That seems like it's a supporting team. It's a team that puts each other on each other's back and kind of helps them be better than who they are. And those stories have come out, and I'm really happy for them. I wish the coverage today would have been a little bit better. Everyone seemed, at least the coverage seemed to be more Bengals focused, but when the analysts came down to their picks, it kind of seemed like they were more Rams focused. So it's kind of a weird day, but I'm super happy for the Rams. This is exciting. I'm glad that we started this podcast, right after the Jags win. We started during the Cardinals. Is that when we started this?
Yeah, we faced the Cardinals that week.
So, just saying that we started with the Cardinals and we only lost once while we started this podcast. I think that's pretty good for us.
It definitely made for more positive podcasting content. That is definitely for sure.
It kept us going.
Yeah, and we want to thank all of our listeners. We've been getting awesome feedback. We're constantly trying to get better, and we'll keep on cranking out stuff during the off season. And I look forward to awesome 2022 season in a few months there, Zach, and keep this train going.
For sure. I'm super excited. We probably won't be doing weekly podcasts. We'll probably try, once or twice a month at least. Is that what you're thinking as well?
Yeah, depending on what's going on, of course, if the Rams do something crazy, which you never count out less need,
Mm-hmm.
we'll probably keep to once a month, and maybe during draft, we'll have two that month and stuff like that, and keep up with news and try to have good, interesting content.
Yeah. So super awesome. I guess to close it out, there's a couple things that we missed in between all of the podcasts that we did this week. One that just happened tonight, actually. Taylor Rapp proposed on the field to his girlfriend. So that's pretty cool and good for him. And then at the honors night, we had, I know we didn't even talk about Cooper Kupp winning MVP. Oh my gosh. Anyways, Cooper Kupp winning MVP of the Super Bowl. But then he also won Offensive Player of the Year, and then Whitworth won the Walter Payton Man of the Year. So also great accomplishments for those two players on top of a Super Bowl win.
Yeah, I think Cooper Kupp kind of proved in this game he should have been MVP, and just
yeah, and
what a year.
Yeah, and I get why people think why didn't Aaron Donald or why didn't Matthew Stafford win, but you kind of have to think of it as, and I know, man, I feel like should have ended this podcast 10 minutes ago as we were talking, but for the MVP run for the Super Bowl at least, Cooper Kupp has been that clutch player. I mean, really, he's been that clutch player for years. I still think that if he was in the Super Bowl, we would have won that Super Bowl. That's just how I think. But being the Triple Crown winner, pulling this team up when you're one of your best friends, in Robert Woods, goes down, and now you're trying to get OBJ and Van Jefferson. I mean, Van Jefferson's been there for 2 years, but Van Jefferson was pretty much becoming, between wide receiver 2 and keeping his wide receiver 3 role, and working with Matthew Stafford on the quarterback, and working with the offense, and then I've been reading stories that he's been working with the defense, and all the things that he's done on top of being the man he is and being the family guy that he is, and so I was super excited that that he was chosen for MVP.
Yeah, what a year by Cup.
All right, any other final things that you want to note?
I'll probably be getting a Super Bowl Cup jersey. So,
yeah, I got an Aaron Donald jersey, so I do have that Super Bowl one covered. I do think I'm going to get a signed. They have these really cool half Rams, but on the other, like half Rams helmet, the other side says Super Bowl 56 champions on it with his signature on it. So I think I already have that in my cart going to purchase after this podcast. So that's my big purchase of the day, since I couldn't go to the game. All right. Well, that's going to wrap it up for this Super Bowl awesome championship episode of the East Coast Rams podcast. You can always send questions and feedback to feedback@eastcoastrams.com or hit us up on Twitter. I am at Zac Mayer, at ZACMAIER, and Ashton's at RamsFanAshton1. All right. Appreciate everyone else who has listened, liked, subscribed, and shared this podcast. The only way that we can keep this podcast going and, making sure that we can hit the most number of people is by you sharing it and liking it and leaving us a review on Apple Podcasts. So please do that. And as always, guys, I don't really know how to end this because, we're Super Bowl champs. But anyways, Ramley, you guys are the best. But until next time, see you later.